Hi there. This is a Q&A session with Mike. We haven't done one of these for quite some time, so we asked what questions you'd like me to answer, and we got some very good responses this time. So it's good that you like these videos, so I will do my very best to answer these as well as I can. So let's head straight into it now. The first question from YouTube by Albinduza1177 is, what makes Brazilian rosewood better? Well, Albin, interesting question. I'm not sure if what makes it better is the right word, really, because I don't think that anyone who did a blind listening test with Brazilian rosewood, Indian rosewood, or any of the modern substitutes would notice much of a difference between the two or the three. What makes Brazilian rosewood generally better is cosmetics more than anything else. Brazilian rosewood is usually a lot darker than Indian rosewood. It's got a nice sort of chocolate colour to it. The pores are different. They're closer grained pores. And if you look at the fingerboards of vintage classic guitars like Bursts, like old slabboard Strats, generally you'll notice that they're a lot darker than the later 60s ones, which had Indian rosewood. And that really is what makes Brazilian better. There's nothing in it sonically, in my opinion anyway. I could be proved wrong, but cosmetics wise, yeah, there's usually quite a big difference, and a lot of people would prefer the darker Brazilian rosewood. Okay, so next question. In fact, there's two questions from Hot Black Desato 3451, who has posted a comment on YouTube, and he says, "Hi Mike, what is the first record you bought and which one has been the most recent?" Okay then, all right. Well, as you insist on asking, first record I bought when I was about 11 years old was Telegram Sam by T-Rex. I remember it well. I used to do a paper round. You used to be able to employ people at the age of 11 back then. And with my first paper round money, I went to Boots in Barnstaple and bought Telegram Sam by T-Rex. And I still think it's a cool record, even now. Last record I bought, that is an interesting question. I personally have not bought a record for a very long time. I, like probably a lot of people, tend to stream stuff these days, so I don't buy records per se. The last record or CD I probably bought was probably about 7 years ago when I was in the States. I was listening to a band in a bar. I was feeling quite merry and I really enjoyed them, and I bought their CD at the end of a gig, and to be honest I can't remember who they are. I don't know why I bought the CD either. It was probably just to support their music, because when I got back home I didn't even have a CD player to play it on, so I don't think I've ever listened to it, I'm ashamed to say. Last music I streamed on Spotify or Apple Music was, well, funnily enough, last week I was playing Jethro Tull, Thick as a Brick, because I was going down to Devon to see Martin Barr, the guitarist, and my partner wanted to know who was Jethro Tull and what they sounded like, so I put on Thick as a Brick, and amazingly she actually liked it, which surprised me. And it's been a long time since I've heard this, and listening to it after so many years, I was actually very impressed on how tight they are, considering it was a totally different method of recording back then. There was no click track, and I was quite amazed about how cool they were and how tight the music was. Okay, so next question is from the same viewer, Hot Black Desato 3451. Sorry if I've got your name pronounced wrong, but he asks, or she asks, is it true that mahogany used for bursts and early SGs are very old growth timber, i.e. hundreds of years old? Okay, that's a good question, and to be honest, it's something I really don't know. There is a rumour, I know that they used to use very old growth woods. Whether it's literally hundreds of years old, I'm not sure, I'm not certain, and I wouldn't like to say either way. My feeling is probably not, because Gibson, like any company back then, were a business, and if very old growth woods cost an awful lot of money, then they probably didn't use them. But I'm fairly certain that they used old growth woods, but whether it's 100 years old, I'm really not sure about that. So sorry, I can't be any more definite than that in this case. Right, next question is a good one for you. This is from Peter Close, who posted on Facebook. He said, I've got a 1962 ES330 with its vintage case. Unfortunately, the latter has always smelt pretty musty since acquisition and dampish mildew. So I hate using the case because it makes the guitar pong too. Do you have a technique for getting rid of mildew? Okay, Peter, we have the same problem ourselves. We have guitars in which have been left in unsavoury conditions for many years, and yeah, we suffer from case stench for a few of these examples as well. So what we tend to do is we first of all open the case, spray it with some Febreze. I think Febreze you can get internationally. You probably can, but in the UK it helps air out musty smelling cloves, so it's very good for the interior case. We give it a good spray of Febreze, and then this is the most important part, you leave it open for as long as you can. Now obviously when you leave it open, you can't leave it in a musty environment or else it's going to happen again. But once it's sprayed with Febreze, we leave it by the corridor in the back door for a couple of weeks, and that really helps with getting rid of musty smells. So I suggest you maybe give that a go, and hopefully that'll work for you like it does for us. Okay, next questions are from Jim Ramsey via Facebook. And he sent me a couple of questions, and I believe we've met Jim at a guitar show, so hi to you. Jim says, what is the average period of time that it takes a vintage guitar to sell? Now, that's quite an interesting question, and again, it's one which is very difficult to answer. Some guitars sell immediately, even before we've had a chance to put them on the website. These guitars sometimes surprise me, the ones which sell that quickly, because sometimes I think, well, this will be with us for ages, but it doesn't. We do a newsletter, and most of the new arrivals go out on the newsletter first, and we often sell ones from there. It depends on what the guitar is and how popular they are. Recently, Les Pauls are very popular. Looking through our figures just now, we've sold a lot of Les Pauls this year, and they seem to be very popular for some reason. Strats used to be like that last year. They're sort of sticking around a little bit. They are selling, but they're not selling as fast as they used to. I would say, in general, we like to have one sold within 6 months. With a vintage guitar, you have to find the right buyer who's looking for the right specification at the right budget, and sometimes that does take a bit of time to find. So we generally, on average, sort of expect to sell a guitar within 6 months. If it hasn't sold within 6 months, then we might trim the price or do something similar to make it more attractive, give it a bigger boost or something. But if you're looking for an average, I'd generally say about 6 months. Sometimes it's a lot quicker than that. Sometimes it's a lot more than that. I mean, we do have guitars here which we've had for over a year, but generally speaking, they're good investments. They do generally go up in value, and holding stock, unlike say a second-hand car dealership, is no problem for us, because it very rarely dips in value. I hope that helps answer the question. Okay, next question from Jim is sort of like a continuation of a previous question, but Jim asks, where do you see prices today in comparison to 6 or 12 months ago? Okay, yeah, good question. I think personally that they have actually leveled off somewhat to where they were 6 or 12 months ago, certainly 12 months ago. I don't think they're going to increase that much. I might be wrong, but I don't think so. And I don't think they're going to fall dramatically either. We're at a plateau at the moment where prices are fairly static. And if somebody asked me what they're going to be like in another 12 months, I'd find it difficult to predict that. So at the moment, prices are pretty static. It's probably a good time to buy. I'd say it's also a pretty good time to sell. It's a stable market at the moment. 12 months ago, prices were still increasing. 6 months ago, they were starting to level out. Now it's been static for definitely the last 6 months. And the rest of this year, I don't know, but I would imagine it's going to remain pretty static. I don't see any major increases, and I don't see any major decreases as well in the next 6 months. So hope that helps. Okay, well, thanks very much for staying to the end. I'm sure you'll agree there were some interesting questions amongst today's selection. Thanks very much for sending them through. If you have any other questions, then just post a comment down below, or post a comment on our Instagram or our Facebook channels. Subscribe if you like what you hear. And if you want to hear any more content, just subscribe and ring the bell. And we will look forward to seeing you in the next one.